But I think for me, how I grew up, where I come from, leadership is a journey of discovery, right? I think it's very much life. It's the art of meaning. It's the journey to discovery. Um, we find ourselves as we meander through through life, through people, through politics, in different organizations. And how do we show up? Where do we find meaning? Where do we find purpose? What are our values? What do we want to stick by? What are the principles? Why do we do what we do? Along that way, do we forget about the people that we have the privilege of leading and potentially influencing and making a difference in their lives? Those are some of the things that come to my mind. When I think about leadership, I don't think you can think about leadership in isolation in terms of, forgetting where you come from and who you are. So I don't have any slides. I think Verity is going to probably um, have a choke where she's at. Um, there were slides I was busy with, and I kept on thinking, okay, let me change this. Do I want to show this? And as I went through it, this morning when I got up, my stomach said, no, this is going to be the right thing. So follow me on this journey and allow me to take you on the story. So I start by saying that leadership is something that you can't, just go on this journey on or this path on without understanding that where you come from, how you've grown up, and the lessons you've learned along that way will influence how you lead and how you impact people. If we talk about and we think about the question, generational leadership and motivation in the workplace, I think it starts there first. We've got to understand why we tick and what makes us tick. So allow me to share with you this. 7 years old, and my dad's an alcoholic. My mom is in the kitchen. My younger brother um, is running towards the kitchen because my dad and my mom start having an argument. He takes out a knife from the drawer. My younger brother, who was 4 at that point in time, runs in between the two of them to stop my dad attacking my mom. He pushes my brother away. I run up. He grabs hold of me and throws me through the sliding door window. He then tells us, listen, you guys should pack up your things, leave, and you're never going to become anything. You'll actually end up sweeping the streets one day. Why do I start there and why do I share such intimate details with you is that's my first experience of seeing somebody put themselves in front of a really bad situation without any fear of what could happen to themselves, which was my brother. I was then told that you're going to sweep the streets one day and you will not become anything in life. We were out in the streets for a day or two. We were taken in by my mom's friend, gave us a roof, tea and bread, tea and butter bread was our daily meals. We learned from my mother about discipline. My mom never finished school, right? So she went to standard six. I don't know what that means in grades now, but I'm not that old, okay? I'm not that old. But she went to standard six, didn't finish school, worked two jobs, Slenderline and the gym, and then she worked in doing Avon in the evenings. We were we were we were brought up, in terms of how do we need to help in terms of chores, cleaning up, helping each other, myself and my brother, do schoolwork together. And then we also got a good couple of hidings if we, sort of off ramped or didn't do what was asked of us. As we grew up, we saw lots of people coming in and out of our home. It was a very warm home. We had my mum had the ability to speak Sutu, so um, I would have I would see my mum's black friends coming into our home, sitting around the table with us, sharing a cup of tea and buttered bread. If you look at the Indian community, we would have Muslim friends coming into our home. We would have Hindu friends coming into our home. So very diverse people coming into the home. But what was shared and what was common was the love, the warmth, the appreciation of what people had to say and share. So that was when I look back, a wow experience for myself, and I didn't know how that would actually influence me and help me grow as an individual. If we fast forward from there, I had experiences where I felt as an individual that I could only find a place where I could find solace, which was on a cricket field or on a sporting field. I felt that when I was there was no difference in terms of if there was poor kids or rich kids or kids just in the middle who didn't have and who did have. I felt that when I was there, my skill, my ability, what I had to bring to the table mattered. So there was something inside of me that was developing and growing around, you know, an equal playing field potentially. Having said that, when you're within a team, you've got to be able to play in a team with different individuals from different backgrounds, different skill levels. At the same time, also different age groups. When you're playing club cricket, right? You've got older guys, younger guys, in the middle guys, and their views differ. Their skill levels would differ, but it's what is it that you could gain from being and surrounded by those individuals? So that was interesting for me. The next step was having the opportunity to obtain a scholarship to attend King Edward VII by Gauteng Cricket Board. That was a different experience for me. Having to go and be in a boarding school. All of a sudden, I'm sharing a room with other guys. We're having to go into the shower with other guys. Um, but it was just different for me. And I remember the one evening giving my mom a call and saying, I'm so scared. I need to come home. I was crying. I was looking for all the different excuses to get back home. And she said to me, "No, listen, this is the right thing for you. You need to do this." If I fast forward, or should I say rewind, from that phone call, just before I got that bursary, my mom had a brain hemorrhage. She she had a blood clot on the brain, needed to go into an op, came out, and then she needed to learn how to read, write, and drive a vehicle again. With me being at boarding school, there was an evening where I gave her another phone call and I said, "I need my favorite cricket bat." And she said, "Why do you need your favorite cricket bat?" I said, "I can't score runs without my cricket bat." And she was like, "Don't worry, son, you're going to be fine." The Saturday morning, she jumped into a vehicle, drove 60 k's an hour all the way from Lenasia to Houghton, and brought me the cricket bat. I ended up scoring the runs. There's a lesson in there as well. Just stay with me. Stay with me as I go through this story. As I finished school, um, I had an opportunity to get into different age groups. Um, I was pushed aside, wasn't given lifts to get to the Wanderers Stadium from Houghton. So I used to run from Houghton to the Wanderers Stadium to practice, run back in the evenings, back to boarding school. There was a lesson in there for me as well. I think one of my biggest lessons that I've also learned was once I finished school, my dad came back into my life, said I would be nothing, came back into my life, gave me a vehicle, wanted to send me to university, or should I say to Wits Technikon at that time. And when you get to Wits Technikon, you're young. There's too many girls around. There's pool tables. You're not focused. You're never in class. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And he says to me, "Hey, listen, you're wasting my money. You're wasting my time. I've got to pull you out of this." I then say to him, "No, I've learned my lesson." I didn't learn my lesson actually, but I said to him, "I learned my lesson." So he gave me another opportunity to go to IMM in Randburg. I get to IMM, same story. Girls, pool tables, cricket, not in class. I get a call one Friday evening and he says to me, "Come all the way to Roshni. I want to see you." I drive through at about 8:30 in the evening. I get there. He says to me, "I always told you that you're never going to become anything. Leave the keys over here and you can walk back to Lenasia." Now, from Roshni to Lenasia is quite far. And to walk in the evening, you only get home very early the next morning. You've got lots of time to think about things. From there, um, I'm going to say that I learned some tough lessons um, in in my life. Found a girlfriend, and unfortunately, she we were very immature. We we got pregnant, and unfortunately, we needed to go through go through aborting the baby. And those were massive decisions that you needed to make, and I just wanted to disappear off the face of the earth. If I fast track, um, and you think about getting into the workspace and getting the first job, I remember getting into the contact center at Absa via a very good friend who helped me. I didn't even have a CV. I remember an individual by the name of George Mayer who used to be with Emmanuel's then. And I knocked on the door and I said, "George, please give me an opportunity. I need this job. I know people come to you all the time." And he probably looked at me. He didn't have any hair. He had glasses on, probably smiled, and he probably said, "You know what, these guys, they don't take anything seriously." A week later, they gave me a call. I started at Absa. As I navigated through, I bumped my head. As you learn, as you go, um, you start, I'm going to say, grow watermelons under your arms, thinking that you know stuff. And I had some good leaders around me at that point, a Bronman Nortia, a Leanne Beasley, a Karen Kruger. And I remember a conversation that Leanne had with me, and she said to me, "Come here, Manyar. Um, you see, you don't talk about, or you don't get involved in politics, and you don't start getting involved into things that are beyond you. You stay in your lane and do what you need to be doing. If you are prepared to stay here and work hard, I'll help you." So there were things that happened in my journey that helped me, improve as an individual and as a person. Why do I share with you such intimate details? You're probably asking, we didn't dial in here to listen to your story, Manyar. We dialed in here to listen to hear about generational leadership. I think generational leadership, in my view, you can't have an impact on others if you don't understand from which generation you come from, what you've been through. What are the lessons that actually carve you out to be the person that you are? So, how I grew up has influenced me and helped me right now to be able to lead 165 people that I'm privileged to lead. They give me the privilege to lead them because you you people can see through, I'm going to say, BS very quickly. So they provide you with the privilege to lead them. But if it was not for the lessons I've learned where I was thrown out of a window, how am I going to be able to look at somebody that walks into the office And if they're down, and if they're out, and if they don't have the energy that they need to come in and do their work, how am I going to connect with those individuals? How am I going to create an environment where I know what it feels like not to be wanted in? People to be telling you, you're not going to be good enough. You shouldn't be here. You're not going to make it. You've got to know that you've got to, if you're creating a culture for people that you want to bring people in that you can influence, engage, impact, you've got to have people around you that share the same values, that have the same principles, but are not afraid to challenge the thinking and the thought processes to ensure that we can impact the people that we bring in to our workspaces in a different way. We have got a privilege and we have got the obligation, the responsibility, the accountability, in my view, that when people walk into our doors on a daily basis, that we create an environment where people can feel that it's safe. You don't know where that individual has come from. And if you don't, my encouragement is that we go and understand where they come from, what they've been through. My ethos, what I believe in, is that I'm not going to go and speak to my people and tell them, we've got to drive 1,000 sales a day if I don't know what Khomotso is going through. If I don't know that Khomotso wanted to take her life. If I don't know those things and I can't connect with those things, how do I create an environment where Khomotso can come in and come to me and say, Mr. B, I'm not feeling great today because I feel like I'm worthless. Nobody believes in me. I'm not contributing positively to anybody in life. I need to then draw on my life experience, not put it away, not say that that's not leadership, not say that you can't bring what's troubling you to the office. No, I've got to draw on my experience, draw on my heart, draw on my pulse, and say, Khomotso, let me hear this. What you're going through is so crappy right now. But let's talk through this. You can't do that if you believe that you've got to show up in one way and live your life in another way. I don't subscribe to that. My encouragement is that we've got to rock up as our authentic selves. They say generational leaders will proactively invest in the vision and values into others, and subsequently they'll impact. The impact will continue long after they've gone. I believe that is true, yes, but people don't remember what you did, but how you made them feel. Were you there when they needed you to be there? Did you sit down and have the tough conversations when we needed to have the tough conversations? Are we leaders that just want to tick a box and say, you know what, listen, I've had the one-on-one because I need to have the one-on-one. And when you do have the one-on-one, your one-on-one is all about what the business is doing and where we're falling short and what we're not doing and why we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. No, leadership is more than that. Leadership is a responsibility and an accountability to make people around you better than they were yesterday. People talk about 5 principles that will help people become an effective generational leader. They say how many generations will build on your current vision and your foundation once you've left. And you've got to think about what you leave behind. They say you've got to make intentional decisions, knowing that you may not reap the benefits from them because you'll be gone. But you've got to be intentional about the culture, about the people, about how you show up. I read something in preparation for today, and it says that you are responsible for how people experience you. That's a crazy one, eh? You are responsible for how people experience you. And when I talk about you creating a culture, an environment, or or the ability to show up where you can leave people saying, he made me feel this way, she made me feel that way. and they can think about different scenarios on how they could do things better, then I think we're growing and we're moving people in a direction. The other piece is that we've got to think about investing proactively into the next generation that comes through, right? So when people come into, and I'll share, just very, very, very transparently, when people come into my contact center, I'm a very playful guy. So I've got water pistol guns, I've got spiders, I've got snakes, not real ones, fake ones laying around. But I've also been able to build a small little games room for my area, and a little bit was because of what I wanted when I was younger, but it gives me so much joy when I see my teams come in and they go into the games room and they play in a bit of Tata box and they hit in the boxing bag. Sometimes they put my photo on the bag and then they hit it. I'm joking. Um, we've got some arcade games in there. We've got a PlayStation, or not PlayStation, Xbox game in there as well. And we've got darts in there as well. Some of them are so ridiculous. They keep throwing it on the side of the wall and not actually on the dartboard itself. Um, but when I say about investing, proactively into the generation, we sometimes think about studies. And yes, we've got to study. They want to grow. They want to learn more. But the guys that are coming through now, they want to also be able to socialize and interact and get together as people. And I find that creating a space for these individuals really allows them to connect and create, you know, friendships with people in the work environment that sometimes has a really positive influence on how they go about life. So that's something to think about. The other piece, which I had the privilege of and still do, is mentorships. And I think everybody here would agree with me that, you know, you've got to have mentors. Mentors are there. They uh, uh, it's like a ruler. You've got a 30-centimeter ruler, and when you start something or you go in life, you're like only at 5 centimeters, right? And they've already done like 25 centimeters. Why would you not want to speak to somebody that's got more experience, have got more life experience, that maybe lived through more challenges, so that you can bounce it off them? I would encourage us that when we look and we bring these youngsters into our environment, that we actually make a keen decision, an intentional decision, that we not unconscious, but we consciously are mentoring them, even if it's not a formal mentorship program, because some of these guys don't have role models. I didn't have a dad role model, right? I had my mom who was there, and she did her level best to raise me as best as she could. And I thank the Lord every day that she did what she could. But at the same time, when you have those mentors around you, you are influenced by them. How they talk, how they show up, their behavior, their attitude, and how they treat others around them. You are sowing a seed into someone else's life that can help them become a better version of themselves. Sometimes people don't understand or don't even know how good they can become until you start holding up a mirror for them. And sometimes because they haven't had a role model or a mentor, you can become that mirror for them. Is it a big responsibility? Does it come with a big accountability? 100% for sure. But in this massive world where we are so small, and if we say that we are leaders in our organizations, in our communities, in our families, is it not our responsibility to show up for that one person and impact that one person so that they can realize their dreams? Or you can push them so that they can dream bigger? Is it not? Legacy. Um, Listen, I'm a young guy. Um, I don't want to go on and talk about legacy like I know about legacy. Um, I think the one thing for me that I hope I can leave behind is how I've made people feel, and that I've made them feel enough to believe in themselves that they can be better than they were yesterday, and that they every single morning when they wake up, that they understand that the man upstairs has put you know oxygen in their lungs, and they've said, hey, Carmen, Nadira, Renette, Lizelle, Chantel, you've got to wake up now, because I've put potential, talent, and I've put a dream inside of you. And I want you to go and chase those dreams. And I think we've got to be intentional as leaders when we want to create workspaces that encourages young adults to want to be part of the journey, to want to grow their careers with us. That we've got the right people that can create that atmosphere and that environment. We must not take for granted that we might have a vision to have an environment like this. If the people that we can walk side by side with do not share the same with us, it becomes very difficult. When I say that, I'm also very careful to share with you guys that I'm not talking about yah buses and they must just do as we say. No, what I'm saying is that people must, mm, they've got to believe in the same thing, right? It's got to be real. You know how many times I will go and I'll visit other contact centers, and I've had the privilege and the blessing to do that. I really want to feel. I want to feel and I want to smell and I want to touch. It's that culture, it's that intangible. I can't explain it, but when you walk into an environment, you can feel it. You just there's just something that's happening there. There's a spirit that says, hey, here there's something happening. People connect, people care, people want to be better, people are pushing each other. So just be intentional about that. I thought about a couple of questions that you guys can maybe make a note of in terms of reflection. It says, what changes are required in your organization or leadership to become truly generational? List the names of those in the two generations you are intentionally investing into, and then what is stopping you from giving at least 10% of your time investing in the next generation? How are you making time so that you can influence, interact, engage? And if nothing changes, what will be your legacy? If nothing changes, what will be your legacy? Okay. I think it leads me to the next piece that's, talk about, motivation. Um, and when we talk about motivation, we talk about, what is it a catalyst for? It's driving team success, yes. Um, it's about setting a compelling vision, leading by example. But for me, at the crux of it all, is being having the ability to talk, right? To engage, to connect, that effective communication. It's about saying well done. And it doesn't have to be at a half year awards or full year awards. It's on a daily basis. You know, Catch your people doing things well, because when you've got to give them feedback for growth, they'll be open to hear you. But catch them doing the good things. Find out what they want to do and where they want to go. What I've done is we've created these, how can I say, I'm going to call it dream cards, right? Or should I say goal cards? So we've got to contract, PDs or performance development plans or KPIs with staff on a yearly basis. What we've done is we actually contract with them what their goals are, what do they want to achieve personally in the next 12 months. And we get them to put that either as a screensaver, or they've got to cut it out and put it on their on their desk. Why do I do that? Is because I want them to be able to see what they're working towards. Because then when I've got to speak to them about their performance, It's not about a PD or the KPI or about a company they don't actually care about too much. Because if we really want to be honest with each other, people want to get a job because they've got to put food on the table. What we've got to really connect with as leaders is with the heart and the mind of that person. I know it's cliched, but we've got to. You've got to truly, authentically understand, why do you get up in the morning? I'll tell you why I get up in the morning. I get up in the morning because I don't want to sweep the street. I don't want to sweep the street. I've been told I'm going to do that. It's in my head. I know that I'm big now. I know that it should be out of my head, but I don't want to sweep the streets. And when I ask my staff, why do you get up in the morning? You've got to have a fire that is burning brighter than your darkest moment. Because when you have a fire that burns brighter than your darkest moment, you're going to get out of bed even when it's -1 or -2 or -3. When you don't feel like doing it, you're going to look up and you're going to look internally and you're going to say, I've got to get up because I've got 2 kids to look after. I want them to have a better future. I need to do better for them because I want them to be better. That is what our staff go through every single day, right? That's why they get up. And we've got to make that real for them. And if they've got their goal cards up, if they've got their dream cards up, and we can show that we care enough in terms of what they wanting to achieve over the next 12 months, you tell me we can't help that individual be better than they were yesterday and also achieve what they wanting to achieve. Whether it's getting out of the car seat, whether it's being able to buy a small car, whether it's being able to take their mom on a holiday because they've never seen the beach before. Guys, those are important. And if we can connect to what is important to those individuals, you can't tell me we can't make a difference. You can't tell me you're not going to have individuals in your workspace that are not going to be feeling motivated or feeling like they're linked to something or feeling like, you know what, something is pushing me. Something is making me do something different here. So yeah, we've got different generations, right? You've got the baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, Generation Z. And you could say, what are they motivated by? Boomers, flexibility; Generation X, autonomy; millennials, development; Generation Z, purpose. But if you just think about those 4 things, flexibility, autonomy, development, purpose, you can't tell me that that if you really sit down and think about these things, that that you can't bring all of those things together. We've got to create an environment where there's purpose. You have to, in my mind, it's ridiculous where we can't have an environment where we can't have people that can grow and develop and create a an opportunity to be something in a contact center. I started off as a call center agent. I've been blessed to run my own business in the contact center. Maybe that's not their dream. Wasn't certainly my dream. But I took my cricket skills and I said, how do I use it here? If we take leadership, if we look internally as leaders and say, where have we all come from? Verity, Nadira, Beryl, Renette, you know, Bradley, Bianca, where have you come from? What is your story? There's somebody sitting on your floor in your business that has got a similar story to you. And I think it's going to be totally selfish if we don't take the opportunity to give back. Give back, provide an environment of opportunity for people to grow. If we've got constraints in the workplace, we've got to be fighting those fights. We've got to be challenging him, because if we're not going to challenge it, who's going to challenge it? I'm going to go back. Like I'm saying to you guys, that the people that we work with were shaken up by a bigger power this morning. So have you. You've been awakened by a bigger power this morning. What are you doing with that? Are you using your gift to make a difference? Are you? Or are you saying, listen, I've got the title and that's good enough for me? Because then if you're interested in creating generational leadership and you wanting about creating motivation in the workplace, guess what? You're not going to create it. Why? Because your heart's not in it. And if your heart's not into something, how are you going to make a difference? If we come back to the people on the floor with our leaders, you know, you guys know this. Our jobs is to influence. An idea is only as good as the support it gets from others. And if we have people on our floors that are coming in this new generation, and we want to keep them in our businesses, and we want them to grow, and we want them to stay with us for, and we want to see them grow and move up the ladder in our organizations, we've got to be prepared to listen. And not listen to respond, but listen to understand. Again, a cliche, I know. I was in a meeting this morning, and I got told by one of my heads to say, "Hey, listen, yesterday, you were a little bit too sharp on your words there. Um, we couldn't have gotten." So Rakesh is our building manager. I said, "No, I'm going to get Rakesh. He's going to sort out the Wi-Fi problem." And this morning she said to me, "Well, Rakesh can't fix that Wi-Fi problem." Um, so sometimes you'll have the blockers, and sometimes you might be blinded. But if you're not prepared to get feedback and to listen from your people when something is not right, or you've done something wrong, or they've got an idea, they're not going to listen to you when you've got to tell them, "Come, let's go." Collaboration. I think for me, if you talk about motivation, I'm not talking about awards, incentive trips, or anything like that, because I think those are byproducts. You guys know about those things, but we've got to be able to collaborate with people around us, with us, and it should be irrespective of levels. You should be getting your hands dirty. I don't care who you are, what level you are at. If people can't see you being humble and see your humility, are they going to tell you when something's going wrong? Are they going to feel like they're being listened to? You want to create generational leadership? How are you making me feel? You want to create motivation in the workplace? Are you there? Are you there to listen? Are you encouraging me or motivating me to share ideas on how we can make things better together? Am I partnering with you to do this together? Do you show me what agility and how we can improvise together? Are you showing me a growth mindset? Do you show me that you take accountability? Can you see that if we want to, if we, generational leadership and motivation in the workplace is massive, right? And if we're going to talk about these big words, then leaders here, we need to understand that we've got to look in the mirror first. Because if we don't change who we are, if we don't change how we show up, if we don't change the attitude and the choices we make, we're not going to impact those people. We are responsible for the environment and the culture we're going to create. And if we don't want that culture where we've got people, walking out of our doors like a revolving door, then we've got to change who we are, how we show up, who we surround ourselves with, the language we use, how, our body language. I'm not saying that when your heart's broken, you don't show your heart's broken. You show people your heart's broken. You know why? And maybe this is where I'm wrong. But if you can't show as a leader, as a CEO, as a GM, as a director, that you can get it wrong, then you're not giving them permission to also challenge and get it wrong. Just think about that. As I meander and I know Verity and Renette said I need to give some time for questions and maybe so for some dialogue, so I'll definitely do that. You know, to motivate anybody, not just young generations at work, in my mind, is, you know, be an inspiring and on the spot leader. I want to leave you with that thought. Seek out, embrace new solutions. If you're walking past, if you're working in a contact center, go and buddy. If you're working in the food industry, go into the chef's place. Go and see how they're making, what's working, what's not working. You know, offer mentorship. If you see somebody sitting in the canteen and they're looking down, go and sit there. Go and sit there. Your what you do with your time is so important because uh, time is the most expensive thing that we've got. I, I agree, and I'm saying it. But be gracious and be generous if you're wanting to make an impact. Think about providing context, the framework in which people or the business can involve. People need to have a clear picture of what is expected of them and what makes their jobs meaningful. I find that when you're transparent, when you're clear, when you there's never something as not communicating enough. Communicate, 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 over communicate. You know, I'll rather tell somebody, yes, I've had enough, I know what I'm doing, but I'd rather communicate and use different ways of communicating. You know, do it differently. You can't, you know, because we've done it on email, we do it on email. You know, um, I do some crazy stuff. I send out some WhatsApp videos, to my teams. I don't know if that works. I have asked for feedback, but nobody responds. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I use WhatsApp videos. I'll send out a voice note. I do the letters, newsletters. Um, we, we use a lot of videos as well, but use different ways of communicating. I'm going to give away my age here, but I don't know who remembers Cheppies. We also use the did you know? You know, we use easy stuff, but simple stuff. Um, Also, with the youngsters of today, they want to be part of a team, that have achieved things or are achieving things, or on the road of achieving things. Yes, there is that element of, yeah, I'm with the best or whatever the case might be. But set and achieve major goals. Share it with them, make them feel part and parcel of it. It's the best way to inspire young people, in my view, is to set a really good example to them. Make a positive change in your life, share it with them. I know I'm probably being too fluffy, um, but that's my leadership journey, right? Um, I think volunteer, not I think, I know volunteer and give back to the community. So what we do is we make sure that everybody in the team contributes to something. We get people to come here. We give, we have to give. Um, let me put it this way: if you are wanting to learn something, right? You can't learn if your hands are closed. You've got to your hands need to be open. So if you think about church and you think about giving, you can't give with a closed hand. You can't receive if your hands are closed. It's the same with knowledge and leadership. You can't give, you can't impact, you can't inform others if you are always closed off. But if you're open, you can give. But the most important gift is the gift of receiving as well. The other piece of leadership, if we want to excel, and hopefully leave a legacy, impact generations, motivate staff, motivate people, is we've got to be continuously learning leaders because people, we can't expect of the leaders that we maybe, put around us or the teams that we have the privilege of leading. We can't take them to a place that they've never seen before if we haven't taken ourselves to a place that we haven't seen before. So my encouragement is whether it's podcasts, whether it's books, whether it's mentorship, whether it's going to literally, literally going outside and speaking to the guy on the corner that's begging on the street, you can learn from anybody. So, make a positive change in your life, volunteer, make healthy decisions, pass down information. Um, we talk about legacy, you talk about generational leadership, you talk about leaving an impact, leaving a mark. How do you leave that if your hands are not open and you're not willing to give and you're not willing to receive? When you're willing to receive, you can learn from others. I learn every single day. I learn every single day. Um, and I think you've got to also take the opportunity to say, we, uh, how have I done one thing where I've made somebody feel good? And also, what have I learned today? I'll also encourage you to think about a leadership journal, and make notes at the end of your day. What worked, what didn't work? Where did you bump your head? Where weren't you as good as as we should have been? That helps me sometimes. I mean, I know sometimes you want to be in control. Your emotions get high, and a leadership journal just allows you to reflect on what's happened that day and how you can be better. And hope you hope that you'll be in a similar context or similar situation again, and you'll be able to engage with that differently and handle it differently. So just think about that. And as I look to maybe close off, is I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts that I wrote down. Leadership is about health and well-being. It's about making impact. Yes, we've got to manage businesses and we've got to deliver ROI and we've got to deliver revenue and lower cost to income ratios and all of that wonderful stuff. But it is about health and well-being. And if we can truly connect with the hearts and minds of our people, there's an intangible that can happen. Um, that is really really wonderful to look at. Who we are is how we lead. Who we are is how we lead. You've got to get to know yourself if you want to make an impact, to others and to yourself. Um, I cannot always control what goes on outside, but I can always control what goes on inside. True and false. Sometimes I can't control what's going on inside. I also learned that you must never give your key away, but you do get into situations as a leader where the moment, the context gets the better of you. And I think that's where the leadership journal comes in. And that's where this then does become, relevant. Is as we go on our journey as leaders, we've got to think about, we can't always maybe control the external factors, but we can control how we show up. We can control how others experience us. And yes, you're going to make mistakes. Yes, you're not going to get it right all the time. Um, I didn't get it right all the time. I still don't get it right all the time. But I think if you are humble enough and really willing to learn and grow as an individual, you will become better. And I think that example will rub off onto your teams and it will rub off onto the teams that you lead. And it will rub off onto that new generation that we're hoping will make a massive impact, in their organizations. I'll leave you with a couple of questions. What would you do in your life if you were not afraid? There is a difference between fear and danger. You know, don't be ashamed of where you come from. Pivot through the different context. Be comfortable to go up and down. And when I say that, be you. You also had to come through from grassroots to get to where you are. Just be comfortable going back there. Yes, going back up. But just be authentic with your people. The only limits we have is the ones we set for ourselves. Stay in your lane, own your life, and have no compromises. When the roots are deep, there is no reason for you to fear the wind. Think about what you are thinking about, the battlefield of the mind. You know, they say ease is a greater thing to progress than hardship, and it's actually the most. I think it's a fearful thing to have, ease. So the hardships that you have gone through that has gotten you to where you are today, continue to leverage that, continue to use that. That is a strength that you have. You have to create a life where you make a difference, challenge to find meaning, but ultimately, we are here, we have a gift. We've been awakened this morning. It's a gift of life, it's an honor and a privilege. And we've got to use that to make a difference. And let's not forget the beauty that we have all around us. Verity, um, I'm going to pause there and allow for any questions or engagements or thoughts.
Thank you, Bharat. I think we're all ready to go out and conquer the world now after that incredible session. If anybody has any questions, you can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. So please do present your questions to Bharat. We've got a quiet audience here, Bharat. I think they're all processing what you've said.
Okay, no hassles, no problem.
With a few more minutes.
No
Okay,
hassles.
here we go. We've got a question from Letladi. Letladi, would you like to put on your mic and ask your question? Letladi, we can't seem to hear you. Okay, I'm going to move on to Rashini because Rashini also has a question.
Thanks, Bharat. Morning, Bharat. I think me is not just a question. It's you made us see life differently, not just in our work environment, in our personal environment. And I think just listening to you, if I have to say, I've actually been emotional because I'm actually on a day's leave, and I chose to dial into it because I asked my manager, can I? And she said, you're most welcome. And I think today is just showing us that there is management out there. I'm not in that management role. And I've had the privilege of being motivated by by current managers. And you have just basically broadened my vision to say, you know what, you can make it for yourself, but you just need to open that door for yourself because no one else is going to. Thank you, Bharat.
Yeah. Thanks, Roshni. Thanks for that. And thanks for coming on, on your day's leave. I appreciate it. And thanks for that comment. And I think just to say, the one thing that I had to learn, and the one thing you probably had to learn is and we continue to learn is, nobody's coming to save you, right? We've got to have faith. We've got our different parts and different journeys, but it's the choices we make. It's who we surround ourselves with. What do we allow into our lives? And what do we give out? And I think the most important thing is that if we want to be leaders of impact, right, we have to look in the mirror and say, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to be the best I can be. And nobody can fault you, Roshni, if you be the best you can be. As long as you've been better than you were the previous day, you are winning and you are succeeding and you are moving forward. Thanks.
Okay, Letladi, you still seem to have your hand up. Are you ready to pose your question?
I changed the this. I have checked the dates, which is in their discrepancies. So I wrote it down.
Hey, Letladi. Okay, I see Letladi is going away. Bradley? Bradley's gone. Chantel?
Hi, B. How are you?
Well, thanks, and you, Chantel. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. So I've actually worked with Boris about probably 12 or 13 years ago, back in the day, when I was with Kelly. And B, I remember your style. You've always been authentic. You've always been personable with people. You've always made each contact center agent, I'm going to use that word, feel like they mattered. And I think that was something so valuable that I've also always taken into my career and into my management style. You've never been too busy for somebody. And that's something that I've learned. Now, one of my questions would be, you talked about, Gen Z and about needing purpose and working in a very sales-driven environment. Gen Z, or that I've worked with, struggle with targets constantly because they want a little bit more flexibility and also a little bit more opportunity to feel their purpose differently. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Chantel, and thanks for your kind words. I appreciate it. So Chantel, 100%. So on our side, same. So we've got We've got sales targets. We've got agents that are earning a CTC plus they earn commission. So very, driven in terms of we've got to achieve these numbers. And there's obviously a what's in it for them as well. So there's a couple of things. So one is, we've got the different buckets, and I'm not going to go through those. I think fundamentally for me, what I believe that we strive and we continue to strive to get right is before they hit that table, we actually sitting down, Chantel, and we wanting to know why do you get up in the morning? Um, why is it important for you to succeed in this job? What is it that you're wanting to achieve, and what is it that you're wanting to get done in the next 12 months? And that goal board, vision board that they've got to put up on their desk or on a screensaver, for us, has fundamentally made a difference. Why I say that is because when we've got to sit down with them and say, cool, where are we? We don't go to the number. We say, cool, where are we? Where are you in terms of your goals? If they're not succeeding at their goals, they're not going to be succeeding at their targets. We've personalized that. So if they've got to buy a vehicle for themselves, we've said, okay, how much is that vehicle? How many sales would you need to do to get? How much money do you need to save? All of a sudden, it's not about the 5 flexi funeral policies I've got to sell for Absa. It's about I've got to sell these 5 funeral policies because if I do that well, two of these policies are going into my savings for me to save towards my car. We've been able to do that, but we've started that conversation from training already, Chantel. So when the guys come into training, we already start with creating that type of climate, culture, conversations. When they walk out of training, they've got to have their vision board. The first interaction they have before they get onto the floor is an interaction with me, and we talk about just life. We talk about where have they come from, where are they going. Life is hard. It's crap. It's not easy. Nobody's got the manual. Where have you come from? What are your hardships? What's making you sore at this point in time? And I get them to really connect with that. And then I say, what do you want to do with this opportunity? So it's very different approach, but I invest the time in doing that. And that gets carried out with the sales managers, the team leaders, and the head of sales in terms of the language and the conversations that we have with them there. So that's sort of the principle and the ethos that we've gone about in terms of how do we connect the sales with what's really important with them. And we've, you know, try to make sure that their personal goals are much more important in terms of what the company needs to do. But if you look at it, if they're doing well here, the company gets looked after in terms of the sales. So that's the approach we've taken. I don't know if that gives you any ideas or thoughts, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, B. It really does.
Bradley?
Yeah, hi, Bharat. I'll try that again. I think my mic's working now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Perfect. No, thank you very much. Yeah, wonderful story, and thanks for sharing your leadership style. Just one question that I had, and I know we're obviously focusing on, the inspirational, motivational side of it. As a leader, I'm sure you have days where you feel down or you get up in the morning and it's not a perfect day. But how do you turn that around for you and the team as well?
Yeah, Bradley, 100, and thank you so much for that question, Bradley. So Bradley, you're 100% right. I mean, I'm gonna share a little bit, and I'm gonna be vulnerable again. So I suffer from depression at the moment. Okay, just been over a year and a half now, and sometimes we don't look after ourselves. So I needed to go and get somebody I could talk to. So I've got a psychologist that I go and I chat to once a week to on some small meds, but I had to understand that if I come into the office and I'm feeling down, because I went through a period where if I'm down, then the rest of the team's gonna be down. And I had to when I meet with my guys and I connect with them, I'll share with them where I'm at, what am I going through, um, and we've built a culture where we can lift each other up. Having said that, if you the head of the business and the leader of the business, you've got to be more self-aware. And for me, the psychologist that I see on once a week helps me talk through some of the challenges that I'm having, and allows me then to come back into the office and really authentically be able to lift my teams up. I'm able to share with them when I feel that something's not going lekker. I'll give you an example. Last week, Bradley, we had a number of our leaders going through a really tough time. I've got one leader, her brother's in ICU in a hospital at Mulbarton. I had Big M, I call him Big M. He burnt himself with hot water, wasn't at work last week. I've got a sales coach that's going for a massive operation in a couple of days that was off. We had another team leader whose son was in an accident. And the only way I felt that I could connect with them and let them know that I'm there for them was I put out a video message and I said, guys, this has not been a great week. These are the individuals that have had a really tough time this week. And I just want you guys to know that you're in my thoughts, you're in my prayers. And if you guys need anything, you know I'm here for you. I didn't talk about business, but I'm hoping that in me just connecting with them in terms of what really matters, the rest will look after itself. Those individuals come back into the office, but they come back into the office with a little bit more energy. When I'm feeling down, I go to worship music. I love worship music. I listen to that. I've got my vision board up, Bradley, in terms of what I'm working towards and what I'm wanting to achieve. And fortunately or unfortunately, Bradley, I still do have that where I'm not going to sweep the streets one day. So when I'm feeling a bit down and out, I'll play my favorite worship song. I'll play my favorite JP Cooper song. I love Andrea Day, Rise Up. So I'll listen to that song. And, I'll just try and sit back and reflect in terms of where I've come from. But I'm also very hard on myself. So sometimes, whatever I have done thus far, I don't see it as an achievement. So I don't acknowledge myself. Although I'm sharing this with you, I find it difficult to do for myself. And hence, me speaking to somebody else also helps me and allows me to open that door so that I can also create some space for myself. So I don't know if that helps. I know it was quite intimate and open, but I'm hoping that helps. Anybody else?
Yes.
I hope I added some value here, Verity. I tell you, I was so nervous. I don't know how many times I went to the toilet this morning. My stomach was running, and I don't have a stomach problem. I'm always telling my people, "Have you got a stomach problem?" And my stomach's going. I've finished 2 bottles of water, and Verity, you still owe me ice cream and muchachos. I'm just saying.
It's coming. It's coming, Bharat. If you could read our chat, you would be feeling so much better. It's blowing up with
Okay.
amazing feedback. I have a lovely question from Danile. And the question is, how would you deal with a team member who isn't effective enough because of personal obstacles and distractions, but who isn't comfortable enough to start talking?
Yeah, that's a really good one, and we always have. You always have those situations in the workplace. The approach I've taken, the approach that I've shared with my leaders, and I've seen them take, is we always see who's got a best connection with an individual. So, for example, my head of sales, they call her Mama Mish, right? I am Mr. B, and then there's somebody else. So what we do is we actually find out from each other. We'll have a conversation as a leadership team. We don't gossip about our people, but what we do is we want to know where our people are at. So if we know where our people are at, our modus operandi is to then say, okay, cool, who can connect with this individual, and we'll get that individual in the leadership team to go and connect with that individual and say, listen, hey, we see something's up here. Do you want to come and have a chat with me? So that would be my first sort of guidance is who are they connecting with, and maybe get that person to go and connect with them. Then obviously we've got the once that happens, that person can then guide them and direct them into, I know the banks use iCares, um, and where they can get support, but also how you need to support in the office is critical. So if the leader is not too sure, let's chat amongst the team, and also if they need to get guidance from from a professional. Let's do that as well, because sometimes we put our leaders in situations where they're not too sure. And listen, sometimes we're learning on on the ground, so we want to be there for each other. So I would encourage that. And then a last piece on that one is, you almost have to. And again, I learned this from those leaders that I've learned from, is that you've got to. It sounds cruel, but I'm not being cruel. Is we've got to also help them understand the reality of life, right? So we're going to be there, we're going to support them, we're going to help them, but then we're going to have to draw the line in the sand, in the beach sand, and say, cool, all right, this is how it's impacting your performance. You see those goals that you want to achieve, you're not going to get there if we allow this to take over here. So how are we going to get this fixed so we can make sure that this doesn't get impacted? Because otherwise there's going to be more stress and pressure. But it's absolutely a transparent conversation, and we've got to be open, we've got to be vulnerable with them, and we've got to go on the journey with them. So those are my thoughts, ma'am.
That leads beautifully into our next question. From a leadership perspective, when do I let go? Is it okay to let go? If you find yourself under a leader who is not open to listen to new ideas and opinions after you have tried all ways of communicating, is it okay to let go? Meaning you're also letting go of the spark inside you to make a change.
Yeah, that's a bad one, Verity. If you don't have a leader that's willing to listen to you, uh, the first thing that comes into my mind is, they say you can put a plant in a particular environment, but if that plant dies, it's not because of the plant, but it's because of the environment that the plant was in. Then you've got to maybe change the environment. So if you under a leader that's not listening to ideas, um, sure, and it's not easy to just find another job these days. It's difficult, it's damn hard, and I'm not advocating for that. But I think the first step would be, depending on the relationship you have, is to have a sit down. Have a sit down and say, hey, listen, B, I'm gonna have a chat here. I've got some ideas, but when I'm chatting to you, you're shutting me down. This is how you're making me feel. I really want to contribute. How do we find each other so that I'm able to contribute and make a difference? That would be my first one, because sometimes as leaders also, we have our blind spots, Jaharo's window. You know what you know, you don't know what you don't know, and then other people can see what you're doing wrong, but you can't see it. You've got those blind spots. So my first encouragement is, if you've got a relationship there, pull them aside, have a chat, a one-on-one, let them know how you're feeling, and how you want to contribute. And then I think, set up sessions where you guys can just check, almost like a health check. How's it going? So that would be my first my first sort of piece of advice. I don't want to say look for another job and all that kind of stuff, get into trouble. So have a chat, have a conversation.
Lovely. I think that brings us to the end of our questions, Bharat. I think you can conclude the session.
Okay. Must I conclude, Verity? Okay.
You do a much
All right,
better
cool.
job than me, Bharat.
All right. No, listen, I think just to the innovation group and to Absa, just fantastic to have this platform and opportunity. I really hope that this was valuable. I hope that I've been able to touch some hearts and some minds, or just one or two. But sure, what an opportunity. Thank you, Verity. Thank you, Beryl. And for all of you guys that came on today, that know me, that don't know me, and that stuck around. I hope I haven't disappointed you guys, and I hope you guys are a little bit proud, and I hope that you guys have taken something away. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have a blessed week ahead, and please don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. And as long as you're striving to be better than you were yesterday, who can fault you and who can let you down? Okay. Um, yeah, just you've got a gift. Make use of it and be the difference that you want to see. Okay. Otherwise things don't change if we don't influence them and if we don't change them. Thanks very much. That's me, Verity. I don't have anything else to say.
Wonderful. Thanks, Bharat, for a truly phenomenal and inspirational session. Wishing everybody a good day. Keep warm, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.